let's get started. So for those who don't know my name, I'm Fidan Alizada. I'm Marketing Partnerships Manager at LinkGraph, and I will be your host today. And let me give a moment to introduce our featured speaker, Cody. He's the Director of SEO at LinkGraph with 12 years of experience in the digital marketing world, with specializations in technical SEO, creating targeted content marketing funnels. And today's topic is why your content hurting your website's SEO. Without the right type of content on your website, you won't reach the targeted audience. And Cody will cover how to determine if your content has what it takes to rank on page 1. And also, we would love to hear from you. So please leave any questions that you have in Q&A sessions. We will answer those questions throughout our webinar. But at the end, for those that stick around, we will deliver you the template that we use, and we will also walk you through during this session to help you match your content and potential new topic that your users truly want, to make sure you are delivering content that has a great value. And without any further ado, let's get started.
All right, beautiful. Appreciate the intro there. So high level that we want to go through, right, is really trying to make sure our content is matching what the user wants. It's matching what Google perceives that is the right answer. This kind of correlates back to Google's big helpful content update. So we'll break that down a little bit as we keep going. I'll walk through a bit of how we want to connect our business goals to our users, right? We want to try and accomplish a couple pieces here, where one, we're growing the business's needs, but also matching those to the user's intent. We'll cover and walk through as well that we are kind of giving you a few options of how to identify your content's performance. A couple free options. Of course, we're going to touch on how we utilize our own tool for this, and as well to reference what Fidan highlighted. We've got a template that's just kind of built to help how you can begin monitoring and indexing your own content, basically auditing different topics, right? And how do they match to your content to make sure that we are updating and taking the right approach towards our content relevancy, towards matching Google's helpful content update. So just to set the groundwork here, right, is why is our content relevancy important just to begin with, right? So with that premise, the whole point here is that our content needs to speak to our users, right? Regardless of the type of business you are, whether you're a very niche B2B industrial business, whether you are very heavily e-commerce, at the end of the day, our core content, whether it's our service pages, our product pages, our blog posts, it needs to speak to the user, not just in the sense of the tone that we use that's personalized to our brand, right? But it also really needs to match and align with what they're expecting to find, right? If I enter a term into Google for an answer for a nearby service, the pages that Google pulls up are going to be the pages they perceive as the most relevant to my search. They're going to give me the best answer, right? So we're going to dive through how to determine that. Of course, too, it opens up our keyword universe. And what I mean by that is generally the top performing pages on Google, if you ever dive through how many keywords they're ranking for, normally it's in the span of hundreds, sometimes even thousands. Regardless of how niche your industry is, the people that are ranking at the top, their core pages that are drawing in most of their traffic often appear for more than just a few keywords. They really encompass an entire topic. And that's kind of that model, that approach Google's trying to take now, is really focusing in on core topics, right? And helping ideate out who has authority in your space, right? Are you a website they believe in, they can entrust, and really start showing results for? That really comes down to, again, relevancy of our content, how we're speaking to what the user is looking for, even the format of our content, right? We'll cover all of those details here. So when it comes to Google's helpful content update, just to kind of recap what occurred back in August for those that aren't aware. So Google, as we all know, loves to do new big updates every single month. There's a whole suite of changes they do. Sometimes they're brand new features. Sometimes they're rolling back prior aspects of updates that maybe they want to tweak further. The whole premise of the helpful content update, though, was that they are trying to really hone in their understanding of what each language means for us humans, right? They're trying to understand, as I talk about maybe a car mechanic shop, all the intricacies of what goes into repairing a car. They're trying to understand how those inter affect each other, right? And as we talk about it through blog posts, as we talk about it even through video, they're trying to get a much better understanding beyond the old model, which was you can just take a single keyword, you could build a dedicated page for it where you just heavily beat down that keyword and then tackle that one page with a high velocity amount of backlinks. That model used to work. They're getting a lot better at phasing out of that and going into a more robust model that gives better search results to users. It's really meant to be content oriented first instead of the old way of trying to manipulate Google search results. So the new model is really, again, building that topical relevancy, something called the hub and spoke model, which we will break down during this too. But the premise of hub and spoke is you've got a core central page that's really meant to act as kind of the core service page. And then the spokes, so the pieces, the pages, the posts, all linking off of that are supporting pieces of content meant to touch on some deeper subject matters within that core service. And of course, to really build up relevancy and authority in a space, what matters now from a backlink standpoint is the context of that backlink, right? The given authority that you're driving and earning back through those backlinks, but of course the relevancy of it. Being niche relevant now is going to become more and more important than ever before, right? The context of our links as well, meaning how those links appear on other sites, how they're used, the verbiage utilized in that post matter as well. It's all really meant to hone in and give the user the best search result, right? That's really what's in Google's best interest based off this helpful content update. At the end of the day, they want to keep us using their platform. They want us to entrust them as the go-to search engine. So that's really what this is diving into. A big piece of this, though, is that it's shown a lot of volatility for people, shown a lot of volatility in search results and people gaining and losing rankings quickly as Google attempts to try and weed out search results that maybe don't match what you're looking for. It's just going to be really important that we start to really match what the user's looking for. So to walk through kind of that model, that process here, right, of what does the business need? What does the user need? And then how do I match those two to build some great content? So just high level, the thought process here is we want to first outline what are our business goals, right? Maybe in quarter one, we're trying to build up sales and conversions of a specific service. Maybe we've determined we really are going to benefit from an increase in blog traffic. So that tells us kind of the area we need to hone in on our site. Once we've outlined our general goals, we then want to take those goals and map that to individual topics. Again, whether it's a topic about a service we provide, maybe a topic around our products. We want to build out a database of topics that are going to really help answer the user's questions, right? Really help dive through and understand and share our information, our authority, right? Why we're the go-to source for the users to really hone in on those topics. The big key piece here, though, that often gets missed by a lot of content specialists is you can't just say, okay, I'm going to tackle the topic of building an email database and just write a blog post about it. You're just going to get weeded out by Google. There are so many blog posts out there about that one premise we need to get more specific. We need to understand what is the user searching for. So the whole point here is once we understand the topic we're trying to tackle, we literally want to take that topic, search it in Google, search multiple variations around that topic to understand on the first couple pages of Google's results, what is Google serving, right? What's the type of content that they believe is the best fit for the user, right? Do we need to build our content and match the user's search for blog posts? Maybe it's landing pages, right? Maybe it's short videos, long videos. That's how we start to map the user's intent and understand what the user is looking for to actual content we're going to build out, right? We need to understand, is the user based off the topic, based off their search, looking for just information, right? Maybe they're not ready to purchase from us yet. Maybe they're still trying to understand their core problem. Are they still trying to really build up an idea of who the best service provider is? We need to map all that out and understand where do the user's search fit into the content we have on our site. Maybe we don't have a piece of content that answers the user's questions, and most of our content is really strictly meant for people looking to convert. That's what we want to map out and understand. What content do we have? What content do we not have? And what's the user looking for, right? So we'll get to an exercise of mapping those pieces out and how you can capture some of that data. The first premise, though, just understanding, hey, your content negatively impacting your SEO. How can you even determine if that's the case? Are you actually negatively impacting yourself? So outlined, again, a few tools here. So I'll walk through a few different areas that we can try and determine how's our content performing, right? Is it a problem? So we're going to cover that in Search Console, Google Analytics, and our own suite in Search Atlas. So directly within Search Console, there's a couple great areas that help pull through some data. So when you go into your Search Console account, and if you have no idea what this is, it's pretty easy to set up. Just look up Google Search Console. It's completely free from Google. The whole premise of it is they are reporting back to you how your website performs in search results. It lets us know how many times your individual pages appear. It gives you a list of all the individual keywords you commonly appear for. So it's a great database to reference going forward. So what I've got pulled here that I'd encourage you to do on your end after this is in Search Console, first go to the search results tab, and then you can view your top queries and put through a exclusion of your brand name. So the whole point here is I'm telling Google, give me a list of all the search results, all the keywords my website appears for, but exclude my brand name, right? So you will see, if there's spacing, it won't exclude those. But the whole point here is we're trying to get our brand name removed so we can see non-branded search results to understand what are the actual questions, the actual topics users are searching for that we're appearing for, right? So it's automatically sorted by the top clicks and top impressions, but I would encourage you to manipulate this, play with it, view what's getting the least amount of clicks, right? Maybe we're finding that you're appearing for a specific service, but that service is getting absolutely no clicks in Google. It just shows that we're failing to really relay to Google that we're an authority over our service. It at least shows, okay, we really need to dive into certain pages, our money pages, right? Our landing pages, our sales pages that are oriented around our service offerings. Because again, if we're not getting clicks to our important pages, we're not getting positions on our top keywords, it shows we've got some work to do, right? So that's one way to start identifying if your content's lacking. And likewise too, underneath search results here in Search Console, there's also a Pages tab where you can view some of that same data. You can dive through individual pages to again begin to understand how they function, and you can even click into each one to get individual keyword reporting here. Likewise, too, Google Analytics is definitely your friend. Again, free tool from Google, so it's always worth spending the time to set up if you haven't yet. So Google Analytics, once set up, and again, this is pretty easy. It just takes a tracking code installed on your website, and you'll be good to go. It starts to pull through how users are behaving on your site, right? What we care about here and want to start diving through and understanding is what are our top pages, right? What pages are getting the most views, most users, but to start gauging how our content's performing, some of the deeper areas we really want to consider going through is views per user. So basically how often are users revisiting content, right? That's a powerful signal to at least show, hey, there's heavy engagement. A big piece too, though, is what is our average engagement time, which just means in general, as someone comes through to one of these pages and interacts with it, just what's their average time on the site. If we're finding it's really low, might be a sign that our content's just not meeting the mark, right? Maybe we're finding that a user is looking for an SEO audit, but yet on our site, they're only staying 5 seconds. It shows that the messaging, as soon as they land, doesn't hit the mark, right? It's just not meeting what the user expects. They're leaving. That's a negative sign, negative user behavior that one is reported here, but two, Google's also aware of. They're aware of the fact that users might be leaving your site. So it's important to monitor and make sure if you've got pages that matter to you, right? Pages that you expect users to spend a solid 3+ minutes on, that it's actually meeting that mark, right? If you're failing to get that user engagement, those user interactions, it's a clear sign there's some work to do on your messaging, how that page is formatted. Of course, there's other data too. You can dive deeper into event count, conversions. You can set those up in items like Tag Manager. Again, that gets a bit more technical, but that's something we here at LinkGraph can help get set up. But the whole premise is we want to understand how each individual page is performing, right? We want to understand what do we want to dive through. And I see there's a couple questions that just popped through in chat here. So first, Steve, where do you find what good looks like with regards to engagement in Google Analytics? So this gets really difficult to answer when this comes up from clients of what is a good score, what is good engagement time, what's bad. The problem is it varies wildly, right? So the reason I say that is a blog post that is 4,000 words, I would expect to have engagement time, easily 3 to 4 minutes, assuming most people are reading good portions of it, and then I would expect they're going to skim through other chunks of it, right? That's where you have to take into account the type of content it is, right? If it's a big post, but yet people are only there for 25 seconds, that's a problem. That shows that they just aren't interested at all in the structure of our content, the quality of it, the messaging. Maybe they encountered a load issue, right? So it's you can't really say there's a benchmark. I would more so put it in terms of if you were visiting the page in question, how long would it take you to actually go through it in reality? Assuming too that you're definitely going to skim through, just because that's what people do now, right? We skim through, try to find the answer we want of what our intention was when we first landed on that page. So a couple other things to account for too, right? Like some pages that maybe is a contact form that just has 4 fields, that user engagement could be as low as 30 seconds, right? Because if the whole point is I'm jumping in, entering my info, hitting submit, and I'm done, that's fine. You're going to see engagement metrics across the board. So it's not so much of what's good versus bad. It's more of gauging, is it really hitting the mark of what you'd expect out of a page? Again, there's not a direct correlation or answer that's easy to give on that. Mile asked here, do you think domain authority is still relevant metric today? Most SEOs and link builders use domain rating from Hrefs. Sure. So the whole premise between them, domain rating, domain authority, what else is there? There's trust flow that like Majestic uses, SEMrush uses, maybe Trustful too. I don't remember theirs, but they're all using it in a general means to help highlight the overall quality of your backlink profile and the viability your website has to rank for additional terms. So the whole premise of, are any of them relevant? Yes, they're incredibly relevant still. I think we're going to see a couple of them evolve over the next year to try and match what Google's doing with helpful content. So some of the premises of domain rating, etc., is that it's strictly gauging our backlinks. Well, that for a long time was able to be manipulated, right? You were able to really blast out a few key links from a mass quantity of say domain authority 20 to 40, and you could manipulate those easily. The big premise that's going to have to get pulled into how those ratings are calculated by these different service providers is that they're going to need to get better at understanding the context of that link, right? Is the website I'm getting a link from in some relation to my website? Is the article I'm getting a backlink from in relation to my site? This gets into a whole different world outside of content, but it's really just noting, hey, like, yes, all these metrics are related, domain authority, domain rating, etc. You want to view them all and get a aggregate rating, a median rating, I should say, between them, just to understand where you lie for that content. And then I know we just had one other question come through from Andrew. So do larger sites typically perform better for Google SEO than sites with just a few pages? So that is still somewhat the case. So just case in point, Amazon, let's just pretend Amazon enters a certain niche you're in. They just decide to start a new aspect of their business. Just due to their size, the authority they've built, they will automatically capture some better rankings. That doesn't mean you can't directly compete with them. You absolutely can. It just really comes down to being very diligent with the messaging you've built out, really honing in your content structure, really honing in of what's going to set you apart from Amazon or any of these other massive players, right? If the goal is to go head to head on a very difficult keyword, it's doable, but it will take a long time. Whereas the better route is to say, all right, I know I can't go head to head with Amazon, at least not for a solid year, maybe more, of an aggressive content and link strategy. But along the way, what are some of those longer tail phrases that are going to better match what my users want, that are going to better match users that actually are looking to purchase, right? So there are ways to compete with the giants out there. It's not at all a ecosystem where you have to be big. Google's really trying to hamper down on the same giants taking up the search results. At the end of the day, they just want to give the best answer, right? That's not to say they've gotten this locked down and they're doing it perfect. They're absolutely not. But the whole point of these recent updates, like helpful content, their spam updates, it all is incredibly important. Kirk just noted, hey, he's got a client outranking Oprah Magazine, but a competitor with a DA of 7 points lower is killing them due to content strategy. Yeah, exactly. And that's something we continue to see with clients and even their competitors as we monitor is content strategy it can go such a long way. It can make or break a site completely. So it's vital just to nail down your approach here. So going deeper than that, just from a tool standpoint of gauging performance, just to tout ourselves, of course, within Search Atlas. If you are using it, awesome. If not, we've got free trial. You're able to get started just to play around with some of these tools. But what I would do to encourage you, if you're utilizing the tool, is one, go to the Onpage Auditor. So on the Onpage Auditor, if you plug in your URL of one of your important pages and one of the core keywords, one of the core terms you believe that page needs to really rank for, we're going to pull through some really important data that helps outline how well you're doing or where some of your shortcomings are, right? Just saw a question. Hey, what tab gets us to Onpage Audit? So Onpage Audit, if you're in Search Atlas, is literally just content. And then in the sidebar, there's Onpage Audit. So content, Onpage Audit will get you here. And then you can run a new test for direct URL, target keyword. What we do, though, when you run this is we don't just scan your page. We also scan the top competitors in search results. So we're seeing some items here like our content score. How do we stack up, right? How does the content score of us meet the median of our competitors? What does our page speed look like? What's our technical score look like? These are all really big pieces that can really help make that difference for us. Now, going even deeper, right? A big area to always consider within Search Atlas is the SEO Content Assistant. The whole point here is you do the same thing. Plug in your target URL, plug in some of our target terms and topics. We're then going to scrape your content, pull it through for a live editor, scrape all the competitors to help highlight, hey, what are those topics we need to talk about and cover to improve our overall relevancy of our content, improve our messaging, right? What questions do we need to consider answering? What link suggestions do we even have for internal links, right? It all comes down to just understanding, engaging. Is my messaging even close to what the user wants, or am I way off base, right? These topics are all generated and pulled from what we're seeing on competitors and through Google suggestions, right? So this is all really being drummed up to help serve some ammo for us to determine what do we have to write about, either on this page or maybe even in supporting spoke pieces of content to really build up our topical authority here. So again, huge, powerful tools to really consider diving through. At its core, from a reporting standpoint in Search Atlas, I would definitely also say if we're going to start doing this method of a content audit, really, just understand how are we performing underneath GSC Insights. So again, this is just our connection to your Search Console data, and we're just pulling it through and giving it a bit easier to understand user interface. The top pages section helps highlight some of these top pages, and so it's a visualized chart referencing what's getting the most impressions, right? But also what's ranking for the most keywords. And what we would want to consider looking at here in understanding is, out of all of our pages, which pages are getting very low impressions and are getting very low keywords. Basically, this is telling us Google is not really seeing a whole lot of value in these pages yet. Maybe it's an issue with our messaging. They're not sure how these pages connect with what users are searching for. Maybe there's an issue with Google even being able to access these pages, right? It's a clear sign that these are some of the problem areas that we want to address, right? If we've got a massive clump of low quality pages, it's going to be pretty problematic for us down the road, especially as the site continues to grow, right? As well, on that same page in Search Atlas, we've got a top pages section, which just does a bit better job, in my opinion, than Search Console can do and Analytics can do, where we can kind of marry those metrics together and just in one view highlight page by page, what's the potential for growth of those pages, based off the commercial value of keywords we're ranking for and how close we are to the first page, right? But we can also see ongoing of, hey, is my traffic going up or down on this page? Easy sign, right, of an area to address if we're seeing massive shifts in traffic. Again, for search impressions as well, if we hit manage in Search Atlas, you can actually also import your analytics data. So again, we can get Search Console analytics data in one table here to just give us a holistic view of how's my page performing in search results, right? And then how's my page actually performing when someone hits it? How are they viewing the page? Are they leaving quickly? We can get a whole built out table here just to really get a full scope look. And then deeper too, we can view within Search Atlas our top keywords, right? So if we aren't even quite sure what pages to hone in on, this can be a great area to understand, all right, are we massively losing rankings at all over some of our core terms, right? We can understand if we are dropping in impressions, again, just to get a very deep view of what's going well for us and what are those big areas that our content strategy needs to help hone in on and focus on over these next couple days, couple weeks as we revamp our strategy, right? So there's a heck of a lot of data to pour through. It is an important piece when it comes to evaluating how your content's doing, but it's very beneficial to go through this process every, I'd say, 6 months. Generally, if we're doing a pretty large managed campaign, it's something we routinely revisit almost quarterly if we're realizing content's a huge deal for a certain industry. So it can be massively impactful and again, can just relay a lot. So when it comes to understanding user intent, I want to walk through some of these premises a bit deeper. So we'll cover in detail here, hub and spoke model, and then go down into how would we actually begin building out an initial content strategy, right? And understanding, is my content hitting the mark of what users want, or do I have to do something new, right? Do I need to make new content? Do I need to update current content? We'll walk through and give kind of a baseline template of getting that process started on your end. So first, high level, the hub and spoke model is essentially you've got a core topic, core service that you provide, that you talk about on your website. Great. But we want to establish and really encompass the entire topic, right? There's not going to be just one page that can cover the entirety premise of email marketing. There's going to be so many sub niches, so many sub blog posts and topics that are really impactful that we want to interlink. So the whole point here is that we've got supporting content, maybe it's FAQs, landing pages, videos, but they're all interlinked to really build up our authority in a given space, right? That's going to be very impactful to consider here as we build out our content strategy. Your content strategy really shouldn't be just saying, all right, I've got a drop down of services, I'm good. Really, each service should have supporting assets, right? We referenced a bit earlier in this of you really need to make sure that you're offering content for users that are looking for information, right? Users that are looking to maybe compare you to a competitor, and information or content that is helpful to users that are looking to purchase. And really, they just need that confirmation point that you're the go-to source, right? That you have the social proof that says, hey, we know what we're talking about. If you work with us, we're going to nail it, right? So it's fantastic to say there, and really just make sure you're honing in on everything. Fidan, are there any questions, areas you're seeing we should double back on here?
So I would like to hop on and mention about the hour offers that I just added on the webinar. So right now, attendees can request a demo for the great tool that you guys just saw for the Search Atlas. Our SEO software Search Atlas can help you and your audience to grow your online presence and improve your SEO performance. And right now you can go to offer section and request a demo today. So our specialist will walk you through our platform, and you guys can start the free trial right away. But if you also want to check the tool right now while Cody is like walking you through, you can also click the link and get started with your Google account. And I also want to say thank you to the Kirk. Kirk mentioned that they switched from significant portions of the budget from link building over to content development. And LinkGraph, our company, seems to be checking all the boxes for 2023. And thank you so much for your feedback. And Kirk also asked, what are you guys seeing with e-commerce product and category content?
Sure. So that's a fair question, right? So the e-commerce space is they're trying to figure out their footing, and I should say that's Google's trying to figure out their footing a bit more of how do we give the right specific product recommendation to a user. That's always been a trouble area for them, right? Because some products can be so specific. Again, especially if it's B2B type product that has very specific criteria, it gets a little tricky. Now, some general practices we've seen that do help work in the e-commerce space is one, your category pages. So a category page would be men's sneakers, right? Women's shirts. That would be a category page where it has just the entire archive of products within that one section of the business. That page, we've seen some success, and you'll even find this too if you do your own searches. Again, like women's shirts, you'll find some of the top results. If you click through to them, they will have below their product grid a little blurb, little intro, right, about that product category. It just gives a little bit more context and relevancy to the products being displayed without getting too aggressive and too spammy with how much we're trying to cram in. Google's getting a lot better of being able to highlight and share, hey, limited amounts of content can actually outperform long posts. That's not always the case, but in e-commerce, we've actually found more content can be negative, whereas concise summaries that are very relevant and niche to a certain category can help. And then on an individual product page, what's really, really important to think through is, yes, you want to have product dimensions, a brief description of the product, but what's often not considered within e-commerce sites is your internal linking, right? Maybe having supporting content of how a certain product works, what to consider when buying that product. Maybe it requires setup. Providing that content, that additional context, can help really show to the user the value that you believe you have in your own product. That can make a big difference. Again, it's finding unique ways to add more details, more answers for what the user might think of or might have concern of, right? That's why if you go and view Amazon, virtually any product that shows up first, if you click on any product page, they just keep getting more and more detailed, right? There's a series of FAQs, user reviews, right? Related products that they're trying to kind of cross-sell or upsell. A lot of them are incorporating short videos. If there's maybe a demo of how to use the product, right? All of that just gives more context to the user. It makes your page a bit stickier to just further prove the value of what could be done. And yeah, Kirk just kind of echoed the same piece here in chat of it's exactly why they're adding to their category pages are some different drop-down paragraphs, right? And they're internally linking different products, different blog posts. That's that same approach of just trying to find unique ways to apply this hub and spoke model to your business and finding, what type of supporting content do I need to roll in, right? So what I've got pulled up here is kind of the template we will share with everyone. But the whole point here is that we are building out clusters to understand whether you call it keyword clusters, whether we want to call it topics. We're building out areas we know we need to talk about. So what I am going to flip to here is just the live template first. So the whole point of this tab here is that we first, and I'll walk through directly in Search Atlas how we pulled some of this data out. We're entering in a core term, right? So maybe this is a core product category. Maybe this is a service we have, but we enter in our core topic. What we're then able to do is kind of highlight what some of the internal subtopics are within that category, right? So if I just enter in the term SEO audit, what are some of those subcategories? So it could be a health check for the site. It could be a audit report sample, right? It's giving us, again, clusters or hub and spoke models to consider building around. And then within those, there are individual keywords we'll want to really consider honing in on and answering and rolling into our content to make sure we're giving the most relevancy to our user, right? And then the rest of this data just helps in our decision-making process, right? CPC, cost per click, that's outlining that there are competitors in this space that are willing to bid on these terms, showing that there's true conversion potential in this term. So if we're seeing people are spending upwards of $16 per click on this, but yet if we can start getting some organic placement within this sphere, within this topic, we can really start to compete. Keyword difficulty, basically the higher the score, more difficult it's going to be to rank organically, right? And then search volume is just a rough monthly estimate of how many searches are happening within a given month. Now, what I wanted to really specifically highlight here, whether you use our template or whether you do this exercise on your own in any other means, that completely your call, but a few areas I wanted to highlight of additional columns I've added that we'll do a quick exercise on is, regardless of the topic or the keyword you're searching for, you need to first understand, all right, is Google's vision of that topic, is it focused or is it mixed? What I mean here is if I search for anything specific, so one sec, in another tab, I'm just pulling up men's sneakers. Focused results would mean Google has a very clear idea of what they believe I want, right? So for men's sneakers, I'd pretty much consider that this is focused, right? They are giving me ads. They are giving me alternative product recommendations and ways to filter through sneakers I want to buy. Like they're 100% giving me different e-commerce sites to go through. So it's very focused. They pretty much know exactly what users want when they search this. But if you do something a bit more nuanced, that is pretty vague, right? So if I just throw in pizza, Google's going to be a bit confused, right? Do they want to give me local results? Am I trying to get pizza near me? Am I trying to find pizza recipes? Am I trying to understand how pizza is made? They're not sure. It's going to fluctuate. So that's where we want to gauge and just be able to answer of, is the result focused or mixed? That just lets us know what we're up against. It lets us know if it's going to be, if there's wiggle room in the type of content we can make, or if we need to be very specific, right? If Google's only showing blog posts and we want to combat that with, a different type of glossary, like you need to match that content and you need to create a unique piece, a unique viewpoint. Intent Intent is really building out what does the user seem to be looking for, right? So if I search my topic, if I search my keyword, I need to understand, is the user looking for information, right? Information would mean they're not looking to convert at all right now. They're really just trying to understand their problem. They know they have a problem, but they're trying to define it. They're trying to understand, what are my options, right? They're trying to really just hone in on what's going to help me out and really make that difference for us. When it comes to some of these other models of keyword types, so navigational is really just meant to encompass and embody if someone's trying to find a specific page or site. So these could be branded searches. These could also be users looking for a very direct subsection of your site. Commercial is where a lot of the high keyword bid rates come in. So you'll see the cost per click really start to come into play on items that are commercial, just showing like, hey, these are searchers that are really looking to investigate specific brands or services. Like they know they've got a problem. They know the relative solution they need, right? Maybe I've determined I need an exterminator. Awesome. Let's freaking dive in and just find someone. So that's commercial intent, right? And then transactional, that final piece is that ultimate final decision to say, all right, I'm going to purchase from you. I'm going to hire you, whatever that source is. So transactional can often be final sales pages or squeeze pages, but it can also be pieces of social proof, right? It can be case studies that are built around that topic. It can be videos that are reviews, portfolios, right? That's where transactional can really be powerful and come into play. Content structure, again, the whole point of this is just so you have a log. Once you go through and you do your topical research, just be able to say, all right, looks like I need to build out a blog post based off what I'm up against. If it looks like all of the content are blogs, maybe we're finding, hey, short video is really the way to go to capture it, right? So this is just meant to give us an idea as we build out our content map, build out our content calendar, how we need to make our content, what type of content it needs to be, right? And beyond that, just highlighting, hey, is this already on our site? Is it not? If it's not, just again, correlating, hey, we've got a new piece of content needed. And then again, if you've got a page that does seem to match this topic, putting in that URL so you can just continue to pass this down your content workflow and just any notes. If there are certain action items you want to make, or maybe you found that there might be a specific competitor that's going to be a big challenge in this space, right? So that's how you can begin this process of really building out your content structure. So when it comes to kind of the final piece, though, of how do we actually get this data pulled out? So at least within Search Atlas, and again, there are other ways to do this. If you're maybe using Google Keyword Planner, there's other SEO tools out there, but within Search Atlas, which is going to be the fastest way to do this, is literally go to Content Planner, plug in whatever our core term is, our core topic. So again, for our exercise here, we're doing SEO Audit. Quite literally, if you just hit export, you're going to get a initially raw file that looks like this. So it's an initially raw file, but all I did for the sake of this is I just ripped out some of these irrelevant areas that like can be useful for certain strategies. For this exercise, a lot of these aren't needed, right? I just wanted to know, what's my cost per click? What's my keyword difficulty, right? What are my core keywords, my core topics, search volume, right? That's what I wanted to extract out of this. But this keyword planning tool does all that heavy lifting for us. The content planner, I should say, does the heavy lifting for us by defining based on how Google is kind of interconnecting keywords in different topics, different clusters. They're helping highlight for us all these different subtopics to really talk about underneath the umbrella of SEO Audit, right? So every single one of these, if it's relevant to our business, could be considered its own unique blog post, could be considered its own unique video, right? So this is a great way to quickly spin up new areas of interest to talk about and really build your authority around. So quite literally, we want to take this, export it, and then just start researching and understanding. If I search any of these terms in Google, who am I up against? How is their content structured, right? Is this a term that someone's really looking for information, or are these terms that someone's looking to purchase? And if they're looking to purchase, what info do I need on my site, on my page, to really convince them at that point, right? So again, that's high level, that whole thought methodology here, the approach we want to take. And beyond that, guys, the biggest piece again is just taking the time to go through and map out your current pages to some of these topics that are valuable, or defining if there's new areas you really need to build on, guys. So again, that covers it. We're going to make sure everyone's got this initial template. Fidan, if you don't mind wrapping us up here, if there's any other final initial questions, guys, go ahead and ask, and we'll be happy to help walk you through.
If anybody has any other questions, please leave it in Q&A section. Thank you so much for joining us today. For your information, there will be more webinars in the new year as well, in January also. And I also went ahead and added a couple links for you to start a free trial. Also, if you are interested in manage SEO campaign, we also offer a free consultation with a meeting with one of our strategists, and you can go ahead and schedule your free consultation right now as well. And if you guys don't have any other information, we will see you in the next webinar.
All right, beautiful. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time. And of course, like Fidan said, if there's any questions, reach out to us. Even on our website, guys, there's a live chat. Go ahead, hit us up. Love to answer any questions you guys got. So everyone, have a great day. See ya.